Welcome to the Fierce Factor podcast. I'm your host, Kaeli Lindholm. A few years ago, I took the biggest leap of my career, leaving behind my lucrative corporate management job to follow my passion and live my purpose of helping aesthetic practice owners make big leaps in their business. My journey from corporate America to entrepreneur has had its share of joys and challenges. Along the way, I've learned invaluable lessons about business, personal development, and especially myself. To succeed, I've had to embrace emotional discomfort, face my fears, and tap into what I consider my inner fierce factor. My mission for this podcast is to help business women like you overcome limiting barriers and push past your fear to achieve your own version of success. Join me as I share lessons from my own journey and learn from badass, fierce women making big moves in their careers, as well as the men who supported them. Let's go. I thought it would be appropriate to start the very first episode of the Fierce Factor podcast telling you a little bit about me and my goals for this podcast. Basically, I'm a serial doer, meaning I like to dream up visions and create them, like this podcast as an example. I started my business career in a male-dominated medical sales job and moved my way into aesthetics and up the corporate management ladder, really until I reached a point where I couldn't move any higher up, so to speak, without sacrificing my family, freedom, and health. 4 years ago, I started my consulting business and currently work as a business strategist, helping aesthetic businesses align strategy, systems, and culture to make 6- and 7-figure leaps in their businesses. Making the transition from corporate America to entrepreneurship has taught me a lot about the DNA makeup of a successful person. Basically, I used to believe that certain people I looked up to had some unique genetic intelligence, talent, or special skills that others don't. But over the course of my career, I've come to learn that the common thread for success has much less to do with talent, brains, or beauty. In fact, very normal people accomplish supernatural things. This common characteristic that I find in the uber successful is the courage to face their fears, overcome objections, and persevere. It's their fierceness. So this podcast is called The Fierce Factor because I believe that being fierce is a remarkable quality that can make or break a person's ability to accomplish their dreams, really regardless of their circumstances. And this quality is learned. It can be exercised and strengthened like a muscle. Sometimes you may have been scared shitless to do something, and it can become natural and enjoyable over time by just doing it anyway, by finding the courage to overcome fear and rejection, even when it feels unbearable. And it's that unrelenting, unstoppable, tenacious spirit. That's what I call the fierce factor. And so my goal with this podcast is to help expose the raw struggle and vulnerabilities that I've had along my personal and professional journey, and also interview incredible women who have had similar stories of how they overcame adversity through finding their own inner strength and being fierce themselves. Looking back, I think it was the fear of failure that prevented me from launching my business sooner. I was probably lying to myself saying that my income, security, authority in my company, really all the ego stuff, that was just satisfying enough. And when I pause and think about it, I know I'm not the smartest person in the world or the most beautiful, but I know I'm going to achieve my goals. I know I will be successful because I won't give up. I will fail again and again and again until I succeed. I learned this value system early on from my dad, who grew up dirt poor. He didn't even have toys to play with as a kid. He worked harder than anyone else, and he made his way to college. He was the first in his family to graduate with a master's degree and on to play professional football for the LA Rams back before they had helmets in the early 70s, not when they made millions. I lived through a knee injury that almost lost me my college soccer scholarship. I've lived through a massive house fire, survived the loss of a sibling. I've had many other personal challenges and too many professional failures to count. But I want anyone listening to this who's working to accomplish the next level in their career, thinking about starting their own business, or who has a little voice inside their head telling them that they're meant for more, to know that it's hard work, but staying true to yourself, saying F you to negativity, being willing to fail publicly. It will be liberating and worth every ounce of energy to accomplish that next goal. I used to work for the big bonuses and the recognition on stage among my peers. But when I set an impossible goal for myself and then I made it a reality, I realized I had the potential to show my children what was possible for them. And that's my why. And I'm excited to bring you along on my journey and share this weekly dose of inspiration with you and other badass women who've made big moves in their careers and life by digging deep and finding their own fierce factor. I'll share some business strategy combined with motivation and reassurance that you're on the right track to greatness by shifting the conversation to empowering you to tackle those dreams. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and come follow me on Instagram and join my Facebook group if you're in the aesthetic industry, the Tribe of Fierce Aesthetic Leaders, and I will talk to you all next week. Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Fierce Factor. If you enjoyed the show, please make sure you subscribe so you can automatically get new shows every week. I'd also love it if you left us a review. And come join the conversation online. If you're an aesthetic industry owner, operator, or leader, please join my free Facebook group, The Tribe of Fierce Aesthetic Leaders, a community of ambitious, purpose-driven professionals who collaborate and share best practices for growth in business and life. I'm honored you tuned in.